we actually have a college football playoff format. First of all, why did it take so long?
Hey now.
Get it right. I'm fine with that. Now, what do you got, Caleb? Tell me about the college football playoff and why I think it's good and why I think it's bad and why I think Alabama is not going to see it for the next decade.
The college football playoff, well, the format had already been agreed upon with the top 6 conference champions and 6 at-large bids. Then the Big Ten and Pac-12 threw everything for a loop, and the Pac-12 dissolved. And the college football playoff committee said, we can't have the Pac-2 have an automatic bid. We can't have Washington State, Oregon State, the winner, just automatically go to the playoff.
Agreed.
So they decided, let's reconvene, change the format. Now it's 5-7. Because the goal was always to have the major power conference champions all get in, and then one group of 5 lesser champions so they could go in, get blown out, and shut up about not being included.
That's crazy.
Okay, who are the Power 5 conferences right now?
It's now a Power 4. And
Okay.
it's the ACC, SEC, Big 10, and Big 12.
Okay.
So there's 4.
As long as the Pac-12 doesn't get one for having 2 teams or a promise to add teams later, I'm okay with that part.
No, what it is, it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions. So what that means is those 4 conferences will typically, we can all agree, they will be the 4 highest ranked conference champions every year, right? Those 4 conferences.
Well, maybe. I mean, I just would like to do it.
Well, wait. Stay focused on this part real quick, though. You're going all over, Dave. I'm making you stay focused.
Okay.
Those will be the top 4 conference champions, typically. The point is they went 5 because then they wanted, that way the highest conference champion not in one of those conferences will get an automatic bid too.
Okay.
So that way there's one lesser conference champion. So like a Boise State that goes undefeated could get
Wait, so Washington can still make it by winning the Pac-2?
If they're the Washington State, if they're the highest ranked team outside of those top 4 conference champions. If they're the highest ranked team not in one of those, yes, Washington State could theoretically make it, but they have to earn their way in.
Wait, so they could be 8-4 and win the Pac-12 and make it into the college football playoff?
No, because they wouldn't be the highest ranked. They wouldn't be the 5th highest ranked conference champion then.
Okay, so they basically get nothing for winning the Pac-2.
Yes, it's the highest ranked. So, for instance, an American. Okay, what about? Okay, here's a better example, Dave. Liberty
I'm down with that, by the way.
Hey now.
Liberty went undefeated last year. They would have probably been the 5th team in. It's the 5 highest ranked conference champions get automatic bids. If you are one of the 5 highest ranked teams among conference champions, the 5 highest ranked conference champions get automatic bids. So the SEC champion is going to be one of the 5 highest ranked conference champions. We can agree on that always, right?
Yes. So
yes.
going into that last game was Gus. I'm sure there were a lot of nerves in undefeated season. Was being nervous like being Gus Malzahn in church?
What? I don't even get that.
You never heard the prostitute in church? Anyway, he likes prostitutes. Go ahead, Kim.
Are you sure you're not thinking Hugh Freeze?
Hugh Freeze.
Yeah. Be nice to Gus Malzahn. Okay. So
Sorry, Gus.
Yeah, so the highest, so basically take all the conference champions, all 10 of them. Okay, because there's 10 conferences, 9 now. All 9 conference champions. The 5 highest ranked teams among those conference champions get automatic bids. They're in, period.
Hey now.
Okay. Well, no.
So that gets one lesser.
I would just have the top 12 teams. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, then there's 7 at-large teams that get in. So the top 7 outside of that get in. So here's the real kicker.
Hey
To get a top 4 seed, this is what I think is stupid, but I think it's kind of funny too. So I want to know where you're going with this. To get a bye, you have to be a conference champion. You have to win your conference.
Because of the Notre Dame angle is where you're going to go, right?
Yes, Notre Dame can never get a first-round bye because they could go undefeated, be number 1, and they still would be the number 5 seed in the college football playoff.
Here's why I love that. When you ask somebody that played at Notre Dame that maybe is in the TV biz nowadays, and you say, hey, what about Notre Dame and being a part of a conference? You know what their response is? And it's very appropriate. You know what it is, Caleb?
What?
Why? We've got this big TV contract on our own. We get all of it. We don't get a percentage. You don't get 20% commission. You get 95% commission by the time you cover your overhead. Why? Now, this could force them into a conference because then you tell them you just went undefeated, which I don't think they'll do. And you're the number one team in the nation, but you're not going to get a bye because you're not in the conference. That's the first thing that I've ever heard that could actually force them into a conference.
Well, this depends on how the revenue of the college football playoff is distributed. But here's my question, Dave. Do you think that Notre Dame would want that? Because then they get that extra home game in the first round. So that's just more money for the program. Everything they've always thought of is to just maximize profits for the program itself.
About 20 years ago, I decided to take this philosophy that John Calipari uses all the time now, and it's tripping over nickels to get to millions. I didn't make that up. He made that up. But as much as I love the fan experience, I used to sell programs so I could just go to a game when I was like 14 years old. Nickels is the people that are in the stands. It's the home attendance. The big time is the money. So it is TV money. So Notre Dame better play nice or they're going to find themselves in a bad situation on the outside looking in. I mean, because the college football playoff committee, if they're 6-7 or somewhere in there, they could easily make them 9 and then they have to travel, right?
Yes, they would have to travel then at 9. So you're saying you're right. So they may, if they can politic Notre Dame to 9, you're saying they're going to politic Notre Dame to 9 and make them travel.
I mean, that's what I don't like about it is they're God. They decide who's going to be in it. I mean, and listen, despite what you may think about Florida State, here's the problem I have with college football playoff is they just say, this is done. This is happening. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. That's pretty much what they say.
No, that's true. So, Dave, I think in an attempt to stick it to Notre Dame, though, and I think you and I both agree they're annoying. They think they genuinely think God is a Notre Dame fan. I mean, it's embarrassing the way they throw their religion at you so much. I think we're being a little short-sighted though, because do you realize how bad of a format it's going to be to have the top 4 seeds be from 4 different conferences? The top 4 teams are all from the SEC and the Big Ten. And so next year, so if the format that they're having were for this year, if they had it this past year, you know who the teams that would get the first round bye?
No, I'm curious. Who would it be?
It'd be Michigan, which is fine.
Fair.
It'd be Texas. It would be Florida State, and it would be Arizona. Arizona.
So Arizona gets a home game, or do they get a bye?
No. They get a bye. They get a bye. So because the top 4 conference champions get buys. So if like one SEC team is 12-0 and another is 11-1, that 11-1 team has to play the first weekend while some 9-3 Big 12 champion gets the first round bye. That's stupid.
Hey, let me ask you this: if you got a team that's between 4 and 5, and you know that team is going to sell the Jesus out of their stadium, like let's say Arizona and Tennessee. Tennessee's going to sell it out. It's going to be a huge, beautiful television event for a home game. But you have Arizona on the flip side, which I've been to Arizona. That has the college town feel of Milwaukee. So do you give it to Tennessee? Do you make them 5 and make Arizona 4 because you can have a better TV event for Saturday? Does it actually hurt some of the bigger schools and where they could get seated?
Oh, so you're saying they want that extra game for Tennessee for the entertainment value?
I'd rather have a 3:30 game in Knoxville with Tennessee hosting anybody in the first round of playoffs than Arizona hosting anybody.
Well, this is why they did what they did. Arizona and Tennessee would both have to be conference champions for this to happen. Tennessee would have to be the SEC champion. Arizona would have to be the Big 12 champion.
Right. But I'm just saying behind closed doors, you say to yourself, hey, they're right at 4 and 5. They've got similar records. Why don't we make Tennessee the 5? They have to play another game. We get better inventory to sell. It's not fair for Tennessee to have to play another game.
That wouldn't happen because there would be no way that the SEC team wouldn't clearly be a top 4 team. the SEC champion. There's no way possible the SEC champion is not a top 4 team clear cut every year.
What if it's a 3-loss team that wins the SEC championship game, like LSU 2 years ago?
That doesn't happen anymore. That's not going to happen anymore.
It's just
because
happened.
They didn't win the SEC title.
No. They could have gotten in the playoff. They were in play with potentially 3 losses, right?
Yes, but but it doesn't matter. You have to win your conference to get a top 4 seed.
Right. Okay, so my point is, what if Tennessee loses 3 games during the regular season, wins the SEC championship, and then you've got Arizona who went.
There's no feasible way Tennessee's playing for the SEC championship if they lose 3 games. Nobody's ever been one of the top 2 teams in the SEC and lost 3 games.
Okay, macro, big picture. What I'm asking you, even though it's unfair to one team, would you take away a bye to make the college football playoff look better by a home game at one of your best member institutions? I would.
I would, but it's never going to happen because there's never going to be a situation where it'd be that close. All the major institutions are SEC and Big Ten teams now, and the champion of both of those conferences are going to be the clear-cut top 2 teams in college football.
Okay, well, I'm talking about the 4 and 5 teams.
Okay, but here's the thing. The reason this is happening is the SEC, Big Ten, Big 12, and ACC champions are all going to be the top 4 seeds, period, end of story, no matter what happens. So there's never going to be a debate on this. You would have to make the case that, like, the American Athletic Conference champion would be competing with the ACC or Big 12 champion for 4 and 5. There's not a scenario in college football where that's ever going to happen.
I just think it's very frustrating. There's a scenario in college football where you could be at Arizona for a college football playoff game. Your first college football playoff game in a 12 team could be at Arizona.
Well, that's okay. Would that happen though? Because again, pull back for a second. What they would do at that moment is they would seed the SEC programs that didn't get the first round bye because they're not champions. They'd give them the higher seed over in Arizona to make sure the college football playoff game, if Arizona and LSU are both at large bids, there's 1,000% chance LSU is going to get the higher seed every time because they want the game at LSU.
Okay.
So
I don't know the shenanigans that are going to be played, but we've already seen some of them with Alabama being ahead of Tennessee. When Tennessee beat Alabama 2 years ago, I don't know the shenanigans that are going to be played, but they've been played with bowls. They've been played with the college football playoff. I don't think things are going to change.
Well, the problem is, see, they actually took a lot of politics out of this playoff format because of the way they set it up. But I think taking politics out of it, what you're talking about, politicking, I think that's actually a massive mistake. They're choosing a path of least resistance. Auto bids for 4 auto bids are stupid. Like for conference champions. I'm sorry, but the Big 12 champion shouldn't get a first round bye over the number 2 team in the SEC.